3, Melanie. Based off Kenny's email, I'm assuming y'all weren't that productive, which kind of makes me want to yell at you because, let's face it, I don't need to know, but it kind of makes me a little sad because, again, eventually there comes a time when you are going to have to do math without me. We're going to let the one day go. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to be like else, I'm going to let it go. So let's look at your vocab test. We're not singing. Thanks, sir. Okay, so here are my expected answers, and I'm actually going to post the document that I got this from when we get done today. I found this cool document that has vocab for every chapter, and I just whited out the terms that dealt with Chapter 4 stuff. I'm really disappointed if you missed common response or confounding.
I wrote the wrong thing.
Well, it happens. We did a whole worksheet about lurking variables and about which one's which, so I pray you got those two correct. If not, that's one you probably want to focus on in your life. I think most people got the word bias. And then the next one after that is experiment and observational study. So again, an experiment, we actually give a treatment. We impose a treatment. Whereas an observational study, we're just observing. We're not trying to actually influence anything. We're just watching. People watching. Census, collecting all members of the population. Sample, studying a part of the whole. Voluntary response is biased because you get to choose whether or not you will respond to a survey. So again, I feel like all those are rather straightforward. So if you miss one of those, I don't really know what's going on. Here's the first one that I could see, and they misspelled it on this as well. Stratified random. So stratified random is back to, we like a random sample. You can do a simple random where it's everybody and we just pick from everybody. And then stratified is where maybe we're wanting groups like boys, girls, and then we pick 5 from the boys, 5 from the girls. That way we're trying to get rid of any lurking variables by doing that. Because if we were going to say specifically like, oh, well, more boys were selected and they did, so it might be good to do boys or girls, or maybe, as we've discussed before, by grade level. Yes, dear?
I don't think that's how that's supposed to be spelled.
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay.
Okay. And there's lots of typos on the spelling, but I can't fix it as PDF. Okay, and then the other one was cluster. So back to, that's where you select, you're sampling the population divided into groups, and then select the number of the entire groups that are randomly chosen. So we randomly select the groups, but once we've selected that it's all table 2, we're literally going to do everybody at table 2. So we might randomly select 1, 2, 3, but then once we select 3, we're doing everybody at 3. Yes, dear?
Are these at I know already?
No.
Okay.
They're not. In fact, I need them back because I haven't even written them down. So we're going to have to go back to Miss Compton when we're done, which is fine. I can see my pink at the end. It's okay for writing on them.
Okay, so
I know my handwriting, please. If you want to, you can. I don't care. I'm going to let you keep it forever. The pink number that I know that I wrote is what I'm going to type in on now. Okay, so I had someone get double blind, but they missed the blind.
Probably me. It was me. It was.
Okay, so blind is when you're not sure. So if we're doing a study, and we're finally done talking about samples, we're about to actually do the experiment. If you're going to give an experiment specifically with drugs, I'm going to give Sally one type, and I might give Alex the placebo, but neither of them knows, hey, I'm getting the fake. Everybody thinks they're getting the real. I just know who got the fake. So that's why it's called blind. Now, if I don't know and I'm measuring the response, it's called double blind. And we might want that because maybe I'm biased. If I know that Alex is getting the fake and Sally's getting the real, maybe I'm going to be biased about everything, all the measurements that I take. So maybe some third party needs to know that, and I just take information as I can. So it would be theoretically double blind would be best. Easiest to conduct, convenient sampling. I don't know how you missed that. Simple random sample. If you missed the gold standard in sampling, meaning the number 1 way to sample, it makes me kind of sad. Maybe it was the wording. Most people had undercoverage. Most people had non-response bias. Most people had response. The 3 words were control, randomization, replication. And then this is the last one I had to be lenient on because literally everybody messed it up in some way. So, except one person. So, if you increase the sample size, you decrease variability, and this increases the accuracy of the results, and this is the principle of replication. Just the more that we do it, the less variability we would have. Now, there are some people who chose different combos of words that made it work. Again, if your answer made sense, like literally made sense, and wasn't necessarily the right vocab term that they selected, I gave it to you.
Ms. Compton, I ran that by you, and you said it was okay.
Did you?
Like, yeah, you took off a point.
Did I?
See, I was confused because there was on the word bank, there were the three words that were together, and you said, oh, that means it's going to be on the same question, so I figured.
Oh, those.
You took off a point from me too.
Yeah,
Control
that's,
organization.
see,
LOL.
I didn't, that was one blank to me. That looked like one blank.
Oh, I thought we discussed that. Okay, I felt like he asked me that question and I clarified it. Maybe I didn't with the whole group. Yes, dear.
I have a 0 on an assignment. I knew for a fact that I didn't know.
Okay.
And I just didn't know. I'm sorry, that was very random and I didn't bring it up.
Uh-huh.
So yesterday the
Okay.
sub was here.
I'll fix
And
it
I told her
next
a
later.
story.
Okay, no, because seriously, you've turned in everything lately, so I can fix that. Okay, it's just me getting in a typing hurry.
No,
Okay, sample size, variability, replication. Sorry, Louise, you'll get over it. Moving on. Completely randomized design.
Doesn't matter.
Random number table. And this is the side that most people did poorly on. Bias, control group. If we're wanting to lessen the effect of lurking variables, we're wanting control of the situation. A control group is basically, if Alex is getting the placebo, he's the control group that we're comparing Sally to see whether or not the drug is impacted. When will we not actually have a control group? Can you think of a time when a control group is not possible?
In an observational study.
Well, in an observational study, because we're just watching stuff, but there is an experiment I can think of that a control group is not possible. Because they're defining control group, baseline treatment level, or placebo.
Like, if you put,
So there was no placebo.
Why would there be no placebo? Because
Double blind.
but there is theoretically no control group. There's someone we're going to compare it to, but they wouldn't necessarily be a control group. And why is that?
Would it be a double blind? Because neither of them know, or no one knows what, like, basically, who gets the treatment or who doesn't.
But still, isn't the one not getting the treatment still technically the control group?
I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Okay, Kenzie's kind of going there with it. If you're dying, there might not be a control group because there might not be a group that we can't not give some sort of treatment to. Like if we're doing a high blood pressure thing and we're wanting to test the effects of whether or not our new medicine actually lowers high blood pressure. Well, for our control group, we're not going to give people a placebo of no high blood pressure. Like, they need this monitored. They need theirs lowered. We're just going to give them the old typical brand and see if our new brand does better than the old typical brand. Because there's potential with like a experiment like that when we're talking medicines-wise that we can't say there is nobody, like Alex is getting a placebo. Alex is not actually getting treatment. Especially if, like, blood pressure is not really a good example because we could probably give him no treatment and he'd be okay. But, like, chemo or something, like, severe that someone has, we got to give them something. We just might not give them the new good stuff that we're wanting to test out.
Wouldn't that still be control? Because you're based, that's like the base
So
you're
that's,
basing it off?
and see, that's when I don't, in my mind, theoretically, that's not control, but that's why I feel like they worded it where it would be, because baseline treatment level,
Yeah.
meaning there was at least something. But when I think control group, I think group that got placebo. I know that's terrible of me, but technically the way they worded it, then yeah. But in my mind, no.
So wouldn't that still be a control if it's still the baseline treatment?
Yes. It's still considered that, but in my mind, like, I think there's a difference.
Sure.
I don't know. Again, this is all still wishy-washy. It's not like we just do a formula and go. We're still just all opinionated. I mean, isn't it everything? Okay, so experimental units, subjects. I had someone who didn't put subjects. If you use a human in your experiment, they're called a subject.
So I put sample.
I feel like you knew that.
Same thing.
Okay, treatments, or if you actually give them something. If we're measuring the levels, that might be factors. Back to this argument we're having about Alex is getting the baseline, regular old high blood pressure medicine. Sally's getting the new blood pressure medicine that's supposed to be awesome. So he is, technically they're both receiving something. She's just receiving a different level of treatment. So we'll miss this about, you want to block? We talked about isolating variability. That's why we might block stuff. That's why we might just use different
I
chunks.
don't remember ever talking about blocks in
Really?
class. I
interesting. Okay, subjects within blocks should be similar, and each block should receive all treatments. So I guess we need to spend more time on blocking. And then a matched pair study is, I don't think we've actually talked about that because it rarely happens. But sadly, there was a free response a few years ago involving a matched pair. So basically, it's the same blood pressure scenario, but we might put all the boys in one group, all the girls in a different group, and then actually say like Sally gets real treatment, Kendi gets placebo, Alex gets real treatment, Hunter gets placebo, and that kind of a thing. That way we can say both experimental units receive both treatments kind of thing. So we can't say specifically, we could say girls did well or boys did well, because that always tends to be an issue, especially if we're doing some sort of drug test, if they want to say that gender is like a lurking variable. But I mean, age could also be a lurking variable as well. So there are lots of lurking variables in life. I don't know how you could put placebo or placebo effect. So people show a response regardless. My favorite example of a placebo is one that I can't resist. When you go to the crosswalk and you press the button, I can't resist it. I press the button because I'm a good citizen.
It does anything.
It doesn't. It's a placebo. It makes you feel better. It makes you think. It knows you're there, and so it will change faster, but it really doesn't change anything.
Really?
So it's a
Is that
placebo.
like for sure like it's a thing?
That was my understanding.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure.
Tap yourself on the button.
I mean, it might be like, let's back up. I think it depends. So if it's like a busy intersection, then it's probably a set timer. Like if you know, anyway, I'm not going to go test police on you, but if it's probably a set timer, so no, the button probably doesn't work. But if it's a section that never really has someone cross, then you pressing the button might actually change it. The way there are some stoplights, like, oh, it's only red because it never has anyone here. If I scoot up a little bit, it's going to turn green. Kind of you've been through these intersections. Like they're just surprised you're there at all. Once they register you're there, they let you go. I feel like it's like that. So there's potential for the button to help you with the sidewalk, but most busy places, no.
A really good example with the crosswalk is maybe the first push does something, but the 14 after that don't do it.
Yeah, the 14 after that do nothing.
It helps you.
And then, seriously, most of the ones in Tuscaloosa for sure are on a set timer. So it's like, they have a set timer of how long the red light's going to last, and they know exactly when they're going to let you cross, and if you would just wait patiently, you would get your turn.
I feel like I've complained all my life because of that.
Probably.
That blows my mind.
Yeah,
I've
but,
pressed
I don't
every
know.
single button ever, and I've touched all those nasty germs for nothing.
Like, I went to, University of Alabama for this thingy, and...
Where were you at?
University of Alabama.
Yeah, but where at?
We're on the presidential ones.
Okay.
So I would press the button, and it would light up. But, if no one pressed the button, the little crosswalk thing, they wouldn't light up.
Okay.
At all.
That is not exactly like the jamming intersection I'm thinking of, like McFarland and 15th, or when you get to the strip.
Well, on the street.
Okay. So, again, it depends on how busy is the street, in my mind. So if the street's not normally a busy street, then the button might actually have an effect. But if it's a super jamming street and they're used to car traffic and walking traffic, then no. Pressing the button does nothing.
So.
Yeah, so I don't know. I really think it does nothing. But if it makes it makes me feel better. I still press it. Maybe it helps, but I don't know. It's like taking Advil. Maybe it helps, but I just don't really
I
know.
never feel a difference with that.
I know.
Except for migraine works really well.
I can't really take any of those right now. All I can take is Tylenol, and it's still.
Xanax.
Okay, so
Well, melatonin, does melatonin really work, or you just have a more peace of mind?
I'm not really sure.
Because I have super insomnia, so whenever I take my melatonin, I can sleep fine. But I think it's more of a mental thing.
Oh, it definitely is. But that's how I feel about Advil. Advil makes me feel better because I've decided Advil makes me feel better. Does Advil actually impact me? I don't know. I need more,
Probably
a bigger sample, more treatment. Okay, the next one that I'm mad at, well, I'm not mad at. The next one, which was funny, is sampling frame. Okay, sampling frame. A list of individuals from which the sample will be drawn. Most people, if they miss that when they put population, do you really think you have a whole giant list for the population? I mean, maybe for our student body, yes. But population as a whole, we've already talked about the census lacking its accuracy, I think. So sampling frame sounds better because, again, it's like our sampling frame would have everyone's from this room written on it, and then we would select our sample from that frame. Sampling error, which is misspelled, and then sampling variability, natural tendency of randomly drawn samples to differ from one another. Okay. Error, variability, that to me sound very similar. So I was concerned if you got one of the words but not the other. I would love some clarification if someone could offer me some if you're that person.
Well, I mean, error is just like an
just means it's
error.
wrong.
It just means it's wrong. Variability means there's like difference, like it's just some conflict between like the subject or the data given, right?
Yeah, but variability is telling you how much error could occur in my mind.
I thought variability would be like the possible difference between like two different like test subjects and the information you receive.
Yes, but like if we're assuming you're supposed to get like whatever we're doing, like you're supposed to get a 20 and our variability is like a 3%, so we get a 17, like we didn't get a 20, isn't that an error? We wanted a 20. I don't know, I'm just making them up.
I mean, it makes sense you should think about it.
Okay, yes, here.
There's a sign that they print out for football. There's like 30 up across the school that say, it says good luck Warriors.
That's cute.
Oh,
That's cute.
well.
Okay, if it's too large for us to believe that it would occur naturally, we assume it's statistically significant. So if you missed this one, I'm still counting off, but I'm not mad at you. We actually haven't really spent much time on that, so I'm going to tell you a joke now. So, I know you can't see me, but I've got this little, here, I'll pull it down. Basically, if you can make something happen multiple times, we assume it's statistically significant. Oh, this is not the one I wanted.
Oh, well.
Was it?
See print.
Yes. There it is. Okay. So I have this cute little phrase behind my desk that says, if at first you don't succeed, try 2 more times so that your failure is statistically significant. So if you can make something happen a bunch of times, even though that's not what you expected, it probably is statistically significant. So the joke is, like, you failed once, well, that didn't really count. But if you can do it a couple more times, then it would be statistically significant. So we hadn't spent much time on that. We'll have to rectify that.
I don't like that word.
Significant?
No.
Rectify?
Rectify.
Okay.
Like in the episode of iCarly.
And then response is the variable measure of the conclusion of experiment. So how did you respond? And then most people miss this last one, which is fine. Stratification is to sampling as blocking is to experiment design. But again, like you said, you felt like we really hadn't hit on blocking because we really hadn't done much for the experiment. So that's fine if you missed that one. I'm still counting off, but it's fine. Okay, but I'm still counting off because you still could have used anything, like the book. You had a word bank. You could have used any of the things. Yes, dear.
You let me astray for number 30 because you told me to write this down and these are points. You told me to write these 2 words down. Or I get these 4 words down.
Oh, I did. I'll give you back the that
Okay, yes, dear.
Okay, so, I have bad
Look
handwriting.
like that. Louise, put your initials by that one so I know which one I'm looking at.
I have bad handwriting.
Put my name be on it?
Okay, no, by that one.
And that says response, so there's that leaving that's the point. Comment, response, or response.
Okay, that'll work. Put initials by both, so I'll remember changing. Okay, are there any other questions? I'm giving away points now. Are there any other questions?
Oh, you went, okay, the number
No, not like that.
16. I put down this, you told me to do, and you said,
I
well,
put
actually, you
down
said okay.
nothing.
I just said okay, so I was already asking me questions
You
about
took
it.
a point,
I have a question.
You weren't surprised there. Yes, dear.
On the sheet from yesterday, I got the.
Okay, are there any more questions that the vocab? 48, asked me questions yesterday. Give me the vocab while she asked me hers. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, so I got the 8
Yes.
on this, and then
Yeah.
I did this
She's gonna
in
take
the
the L.
calculator, and it
Yes.
gave me nothing.
Okay. I
Do
understand
the
that.
engine to do.
L is short for
what?
loser.
Okay. I haven't actually looked at that specific part of the directions, but I looked at the random digit part.
No.
Okay, if you haven't given it to me, I need this.
I said random.
Anyway.
I moved myself. Dag logic.
Participation.
You put 4 things.
Last one right there. Right beside it.
You can't spell slaughter without laughter.
Random assignment.
Honestly, this motion alone is
It's
Okay,
true.
I'm gonna give it to you. You gotta work on it.
cringy. You want to do this?
My mind is faster than I can say.
No,
I'm
no,
just saying, so I'm gonna grade your stuff that doesn't know you,
Yeah.
and I need them to know what you meant. Okay, I can fix that. Okay, I need to see your one from yesterday. I need to have out that activity. I also need to talk about the rolling down the river one.
Oh, go ahead, bring that up. They're by the same
Okay,
pool.
so I have some people who haven't turned in the rolling down the river, which is okay. I'm okay with it at the moment. You need to rectify that. I am entering it into grade this year.
You like that word today.
Yep.
Or it'll be
But it's the lurking variable worksheet. I remember hearing
I
it.
know you do. Alright.
You know, I can't have like here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working counter. Good, Jack.
Even though you like it.
Got it. Okay, so I want to look at
Oh.
the last page of the. I'm not handing you yours back. I just want to talk about it. So, the very last page of the rolling down the river activity, you only had to do, and I felt like I said this the other day, but a lot of you were in band, so you weren't here. You only have to do the front side. You can't do the back side because on the back side they imply you need everybody else's numbers, and since you don't know everyone else's numbers in the class, you cannot do the back side. So if that's what's hindered you from turning this in, please let it hinder you no longer. Okay. That sheet, we passed it out late last week.
Yeah, I was wondering why those numbers look familiar, but oh, it's mine.
Yeah, but yours is back on the side. Are you saying you've turned it in, or you're saying you don't know?
I'm gonna ruin it because the tape flipped out.
Here, yeah. I don't have yours.
Do you not have mine?
We passed it out last week, maybe last Wednesday, Thursday. You're more than welcome to check. Great. Okay, Sally, hand me your yesterday one.
We got them Friday when we were at the
Yes.
game, or at the
Wow.
rally.
It's constant. This is literally the only numbers I
You did more than I
got.
did.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I got stuck after this.
I was working on the other thing, and then I was confused.
It took
The
me
other
like half of the
The
time.
rolling down the river?
Yeah.
You didn't finish it over the, okay. You're just behind. Okay.
Yeah, the stuff was distracting us, it couldn't work.
Okay, that's nice. That's fine. That doesn't mean we can't work today. Okay, so let's talk about this one, which you didn't get done yesterday, so needs to get done today, which means we're a little behind, but I guess I'll have to learn the deal. I really want to stop talking about sampling techniques, to be honest. I really want to move on to actual experiment, and then what do we do with the results. But it is fine. So the first question on this, I don't know why I'm stealing yours. I have my own. You could
I
actually
was
write on
wondering the
yours.
same thing.
Okay, so yes, dear. I don't know. I know you want me to be helpful, but I honestly have no idea. How did you not get it the other day?
I don't know.
I don't either. Okay, so it says you're supposed to use a random digits table and use line 101 in your table. And I suggested that you use the textbook. So if you look in the textbook in the back, there is a random digits table. It's table D. And they said specifically to look at line 101. So seriously, look at line 101 of that. Okay, now the first problem says choose a simple random sample of 8 students. Okay, so do I do, let's see, is it 1 and 9 and 2, 2, 3? Someone explain to me how I'm supposed to use 1, 9, 2, 2, 3 and help figure out what students.
Okay, so the first 3 numbers, 192, which is first number,
That is correct.
because we're going out of the sample of 290 people.
Yes. So we need 3 digits because it said 290. So 192 is my first 3 numbers. And then my next thing would be 239. And then after that, I see 503. But why do I not select 503?
We don't have a student that is 503.
Yeah, we don't have a student that's 503. So I don't select them. can't show all the things at once. I can do this. Okay, so I do select 192. I do select 239. I don't select 503. It was 503, then 405,
Why don't you do 503?
because it's bigger than 290. And then it was 405, and then 756, that is also bigger than 290. And then it's 287, so that works. 139, that works. 640, that's too big. And you continue on this process until you get your, it says it wants 8 people. Right now I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 for you.
So, on, like, I was thinking.
Okay, let me see.
Numbers on that first row.
You go to the second line. Okay, so, Kenzie did it. She has the same numbers as me, and then line 101 ended, and she still didn't have enough for her sample. So just go straight to line 102. Okay, it asks you to reseed your calculator, but Kenzie says these instructions aren't useful, so it's okay with me if we completely cross out the reseed calculator bit.
I did it, and it just gave me 0 with an arrow, R, A, and B, and I didn't know what to do after that.
0 store band.
I'm pretty sure it wants us to use the random integer to find the 16 random integers between 1 and 290.
That would make sense.
That would make sense, but I don't understand why we're having to select more random integers than we just did with the random number table.
Do we need 16 of them?
I don't know.
I feel like that first one was just to test your abilities.
Just like
Okay, well then, why don't you just random number generator 8 more options? Phrase it like that, Hunter.
Yeah.
But again, we can't have repeats. So if your random number generator tells you 192, we've already selected 192, so you can't use it again. So just use your calculator to the random numbers to get 8 more options.
Like
But I
Samantha
don't
said
remember
that.
how to do that.
Okay, so we went to math, then we went to probability. We did rand. Oop, I already had something else on that line. So math, probability, rand, and then we actually tell it the parameters. So we're wanting from like 0 to 290, and we want it to tell us 8 numbers. So you tell it the bottom number of your range, which maybe we're doing 1 to 290. That was silly. Like 1 to 290, and then we want it to select 8 numbers in between there. And again, if you're wanting it to put a lot of numbers, you could then press store and then L1, L2, L3 and make it store on a list if you don't want to just see a...
I did what you did, and mine
I thought it was
zero.
rand int.
Yes, thank you, bless you. Rand int, and the reason we did random integer is because we wanted it to be a whole number. So rand int, and then we want to tell it.
Oh.
Okay, so you do rand int, and then you tell it your lower parameter, your higher parameter, and how many numbers you want it to select. But again, if we've already got 264 from our random integer table, then we can't use that again. Yes, dear?
Okay, you said this was good at the end of class, right?
This? No, we're going to work on it till the end of class, but no.
Okay, but so we're not turning anything in at the end of the class?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay, so, no, if we're still stuck on the very beginning, then no, it can't be due at the end of class. Okay, so then it has some options of how you can do things, but I'm guessing since you couldn't even get the 16, you couldn't go from there.
What are you gonna say?
No, I mean, that's understandable. Okay, so do you just need time then? Is that the only questions you had? You just need time?
And like, I just didn't know what to do.
Okay, well, we just need, really, next time this happens, seriously, I'm not going to go back and check the random number table. I'm not going to check your calculator. So 16 random numbers between 1 and 290. Don't make it look like you did 283, 284, 285. That's a little too convenient. Make them spread. But yeah, 16 random numbers is
What
fine.
if they just generated that way?
If you can make it generate that way in a row and show me, I'll give you some candy.
Deal.
That was it.
Deal.
Get your life together. Finish your work first. My gosh, y'all are so weird.
I'm just gonna.
Okay, so.
Wait, I'm just gonna go to my calculator. Tell me like the dates.
Okay, so I'm gonna let y'all work on this. But basically, all it's working into is like if we did it the different ways of sampling. They're still just making you test out the different ways of sampling. We're not gonna overthink it. We're not gonna overthink it. We're not gonna spend all day on it. If we can finish the front side before we leave, Miss Compton will not be mad.
Front of the sampling techniques one or the front
Yes.
of
The front side of this one.
Okay, so not
This.
the restaurants one.
No, the restaurant one, we'll even postpone its due date till Friday. It's fine.
It was supposed to be due Thursday.
It was supposed to be due Thursday, we'll make it due Friday.
And then what does this one do?
We'll say, I'll probably give you some more time during class tomorrow,